besties, I am back and I'm sitting on this couch because you know what? You and I, we need to talk. I am someone who messes up a lot in varying degrees, and I've wanted to talk about failure on this channel for a really long time now. And I finally have the opportunity to sit down, gather my thoughts, and discuss with you why I think you, girly pop, you need to get used to failure. I think this may be a bit of a controversial topic, mainly because I can see it being taken out of context. Why let yourself get used to failure? Why let yourself get used to subpar work or not doing well and disappointing everyone and making mistakes too often? And listen, hold on, hold your horses. That is not what I'm saying. Please listen to this entire video before you cast judgment upon me, because I swear to God, it makes sense, okay? The statement is, you need to get used to failure in order to overcome the fear of it. Do you see where I'm going with it? This whole thought process of mine is stemming from the fact that I am a personal special little cocktail made with anxiety and mistakes. And if you've experienced any kind of anxiety in your life, you know that mistakes and anxiety are like the worst combination ever. That plus the fact that I catastrophize. When I make a mistake, and I get anxious over the mistake I made because I know I have to face the consequences and fix it somehow, but I end up catastrophizing the whole situation, it's just a horrible, poisonous cocktail. Which has led me to why I want to talk about failure, because believe it or not, I've actually gotten really good at managing my fear of failure, and it's all because I've gotten used to it. This may sound really sad, but if you haven't figured it out already, I've made a crap ton of mistakes in my life. I've disappointed people a hell of a lot, and I've fallen short on my duties, who I am as a person, a lot in my life. As shitty as all of those experiences were, and having to go through the mud to learn something and really evolve through those experiences, it forced me to get used to failure because it just happened all the frickin' time with me. And I'm now at a point where if anything ever goes wrong in any aspect of my life, I can think through it with a very clear head because I'm numb to the disappointment that my own failure brings me. I'm so used to it that I'm numb to it, and I can think clearly and not panic in the situation. So while I was deep into the thought process of why the fear of failure is even a thing in society, I came to a question that to you guys, the answer may seem very obvious, but I want to pose it anyway, just so that I can tell you what my theory is, right? Or what I think it is, at least for me. And that question is, why is failure such a big deal? Like, why is it something that everyone is so scared of, that perfectionism is a thing that is very much rampant in many people in the world. Perfectionism that was born to combat failing. And my theory is, failure is such a big deal and such a terrifying thing to experience because we haven't accepted the idea of it at all. And I mean that in the sense that nobody ever wants to put themselves out there and be open to failing, be open to not delivering whatever is expected of them or fulfill whatever responsibility has been put on them. Nobody ever wants to take on whatever weight they've committed themselves to and then fail at it, which I believe makes the experience of failing even worse because we will fail. Every single day, a mistake will be made, something will happen that just is not right. It may be to a lighter degree or to a heavier degree, but failure is a natural part of life, as cliche as that sounds, and it happens all the fucking time, that you just cannot avoid it. So why is it that we are rejecting the idea of failure in the first place? And it's a lot easier to question and also easier said than done, because obviously when we make a mistake, it breaks the very foundations of who we are completely apart. It challenges how we think we would have responded to a certain situation or how good we may have expected ourselves to be at a certain task or activity, or maybe even the success that we thought we would be able to deliver when it comes to other people's expectations that have been set upon us, you know? Which then brings me to my thesis statement, which is that in order for our failures to not be such a big deal to us, we have to lessen the emotional impact that it has on us. Because it is exactly the emotional impact that paralyzes us from sorting out the situation at hand. We start to panic, and instead of learning from the situation and hurdling it, we completely miss what this particular mistake or failure is meant to teach us. So we end up learning nothing, and what we have just been through with this mistake doesn't even serve us a higher purpose because we just freeze and run away. And when we learn nothing, we cease to improve, which is not the goal here. So I have prepared 5 actionable steps to help minimize the emotional impact of whatever mistake, situation, or failure you find yourself in. Because trust me, girls, one's coming up around the corner. We can't run away from it. It's just gonna chase us and knock us over. Like, it's gonna happen. So you might as well accept it now and listen to me as I share with you my insights and my thoughts, and then try to enact my 5 actionable steps so that you're better prepared the next time you have to deal with a situation. Step 1 is to take a step back, breathe, and absorb. 2, understand what the situation is about in its entirety. 3, try and figure out what your insights are from whatever situation you found yourself in, whatever mistake this may be, failure on your part this may be. Figure out what this is meant to teach you, what you are meant to learn from this. 4, one of the most important parts, especially if you are a perfectionist like me who also has to deal with negative self-talk, positive self-talk, okay? We're not gonna go through all of this crap only for us to tear ourselves down. No, we're gonna learn from everything, and then we're also going to be encouraging towards ourselves as we learn from everything. And lastly, number 5, we are gonna let it go. We're gonna let it go and move on. Okay, so I'm going to go through 2 different categories of examples, a life example and a work example. And I'm going to go through each of the 5 actionable steps in each of these examples so that you can understand the process of what these actionable steps are going to take you through. So hopefully, in whatever situation you find yourself in the future, you'll be able to remember the step-by-step process and help it minimize the emotional impact of the failure for you. And hopefully, by the end of whatever situation you find yourself in, you'll come out of it feeling more empowered than a disappointment. That's the goal here. Let's start with a life example. So let's say you and your best friend get into an argument and everything was all well and good. It was all fair game until you let a very rude below the belt comment slip. And that extremely offended your friend, doesn't want to talk to you, tells you to fuck off. And then, I shouldn't be laughing at that. You're in your feelings as well, don't want to apologize in the moment, which, hey, it happens. It's only natural for us to feel like we need to defend ourselves even if we caused the issue. Trust me, I've been there. Number 1 is to take a step back, breathe, and absorb. When you are in the wake of whatever the situation is, in this particular scenario, you're fresh out of an argument with your friend where you guys are both heated and angry towards each other. It is never a good idea, even if you come to your senses right after you've dropped the insult, right? You're not gonna get anything off of immediately doing a 180 and being like, I shouldn't have said that, I'm sorry, please forgive me right away. Because chances are your friend is not gonna wanna hear you after the insult that you've just given her. Even if you mean the apology right after you say it, your friend probably is too hurt to hear you out anyway. So this is where taking a step back is important. The two of you need time to step away from each other and decompress. And when I say to decompress, I mean give yourself the time and the space to not feel angry anymore. Relax, get all the tension out, and just get yourself relaxed enough where you don't feel the anger towards your friend. Or if you still do, just get it to a point where it's very, very minimal. It's not boiling your blood anymore. Yes.
I'm sorry. I was waiting because I'm gonna make noise when I open the door.
That's okay. You can go.
I have to pee.
Okay. Did you guys hear my husband?
Yes, if that somehow ends up in the fucking cut, I swear to God.
What? What are you gonna do about it? Breathe and absorb, which is exactly in the name itself. Give yourself like 5 to 10 breaths. You need to get yourself to a state of emotional equilibrium where your senses aren't so heightened, you're not overstimulated, and hopefully you're able to pull yourself away from the panic that you're feeling or from the anger that you're feeling. When I say absorb, give yourself time to process what you have just experienced. You need to give yourself time to really thoroughly think through what just happened. Because you don't want to apologize from a very surface level place where, yeah, you know you made a mistake, but did you really fully understand the impact that it had on your friend? Maybe it hurt a lot more than you thought it did, and you really need to make good on the apology once you give it. Step 2 is to understand the situation. And this does go hand in hand with absorbing what has just happened and processing what has just happened. But for this particular step, I have 2 questions that I need you to ask yourself as you're doing this entire process, which is number 1, what was the trigger? The trigger wasn't necessarily the argument. The trigger was that you insulted your friend. Number 2 is, why did the trigger result in anger and frustration? And the answer is pretty obvious with this one, right? But it's good to have an awareness of why it made your friend angry. It's because you insulted them in a way that maybe you knew would hurt your friend, but you did it anyway. So, sucks to have to say it and to admit that you did that, but hey, it happens. People make mistakes. People can be mean. I've been mean too. So it's always good to be aware of what you've done. Awareness is the first step in becoming a better person. A sub portion of understanding the situation is also accepting the situation. And I am just going to be very frank with you girls about this, okay? A lot of us out there, and this includes me in the past, my ego is gone now and has been knocked out of the park. But even when we are the ones to commit the mistake or to hurt other people, we have the tendency to still be the one on the defensive. Especially if the other person in the situation is telling you, like, you did this, you made me feel this way, I didn't like that. Even if we know for a fact that we are wrong, some of us, and listen, I'm not judging. If you are here and the shoe fits, I get it. Like, I used to do it too, but I need to be frank about it. A lot of us still feel like we need to defend ourselves and be in denial and not actually take accountability for the mistake that we've made. When I say accept the situation, we need to throw that shit out the window, okay? No being in denial here. No trying to save face here. We are good girly pops that take accountability for what we've done and commit to doing better in the future. You insulted your friend? Hey, that's on you. No excuses. Absolutely no excuses. Also, if the mistake is yours naman talaga, like, there is no point in denying it. It only makes you look bad. Like, it really, you may think you're saving face by denying it or like trying to turn the tables. You're just gonna look like an idiot, okay? So you might as well just own up to it with sincerity, might I add. That also takes some work, but I know you can do it because being in denial and rejecting the idea that you've made a mistake just wastes your time and your brain power. You could be putting all that time and brain power towards actually mending things instead. Step number 3 is to pinpoint your insights and figure out your next steps or workarounds to the situation. So what would your learning be in this scenario? I can't let my emotions get the best of me and use it as reason to insult my friend. Okay, great. Next steps. I need to apologize. Clearly. So you put in the effort and you give a sincere apology. And by the way, the next one-on-one that we do on this couch, I am going to talk about how to give a proper apology because I'm really good at apologizing. It's one of my hidden traits. We've established that your next step is obviously to apologize. But what do we do if your friend doesn't want to accept your apology? That is where a workaround comes in. Now, if you guys don't know this is corporate speak, right? So you guys in the corporate industry or like who are working in companies and businesses, all of that, probably know the term workaround. That's where I learned it when I was working in an agency. But A workaround is basically like, listen, you can't fix the problem. What can you do to work around the problem that will help remedy it if you can't completely fix it? If you can make the situation a little bit better, that is what a workaround is. What I would say is a possible workaround. If you guys have any other ideas for this particular situation, you can comment it down below. But my personal workaround for this would be to accept it. There's something more to this. Literally just take a step back, tell her, okay, I understand why you don't accept my apology. What I did was below the belt. I know you need time. And then just leave her be. Like, literally, what your friend probably needs in this situation is time to also fully process it, because she's not just processing what just happened to her. She was on the receiving end of the insult, right? So she also has to process the pain that you've put on her. Don't force her to accept your apology. Don't talk to her for a while and then reach out again a week, a couple of weeks when you feel like everything's like a little lighter, a little less heated, and then see if she'd want to talk and if she would be willing, or if she'd be willing to get another apology from you. I mean, you don't even have to be like, hey, can I apologize to you again? You can just be like, hey, I'm reaching out. It's been a while since we've talked. I just want to say I'm really sorry for what I did. And hey, if you lose the friend, a lesson learned. And that can only make you treat your friends, the other friends that you might have, or any future friends that come along, much better than you've treated this last one. It's going to be a hard lesson to learn, but a lesson learned nonetheless. Positive self-talk. What I need you guys to also commit to is to not beat yourself up when you make a mistake. You did insult the person, but you learned from it too. You did your due diligence and you probably apologized properly. And that's all you can really ask for yourself. Obviously, it depends on the situation as well, right? Like, some situations will be up to your discretion on whether you should be following up with your friend. Konting lambing here and there. I think what's important after the fact is that you don't do any negative self-talk. You don't continue to beat yourself up and be like, I'm such a shit person. What I did was horrible. A lot of us, I don't know, I don't think there are any perfect beings out there, but I'm pretty sure a lot of us have made mistakes, have hurt other people, all of that. You need to not let that be who you are. You need to be able to move on from this, understand that it is a learning experience. Sure, a pretty crappy learning experience, and you are a better person moving forward because of it. If you keep talking horribly about yourself and doing all the negative self-talk, like, sis, come on, that's only gonna lower your sense of self-worth. And if your self-worth is lowered and you completely devalue yourself, you're never gonna feel worthy of being a better person and becoming a more refined human being. You're not gonna win if you do negative self-talk. And through all of these mistakes that we make as people, we need to be on our side and we need to encourage ourselves to win. And we can only do that if we help ourselves build the confidence to learn and stick to what we've learned, as opposed to devaluing ourselves from what has happened, which in turn makes us lose our confidence and stalls our growth. And lastly, the fifth step is to let it go. Third time I'm saying this on this video, but yes, it is a lot easier said than done. But it is important that you let go of the situation once it is finished, because you're not ever gonna get anywhere if you decide to hold on to it and stay in place. You know, if you decide to wallow in the situation, keep beating yourself up over it, and never forgive yourself for what you've done, you're never gonna move forward and become a better person and refresh yourself in your life. You have to give yourself the time and the space to encounter other situations where you can now exercise what you've learned. So let it go. It's in your past now. It's no longer who you are, and you are now a better person for it. The second scenario I'm gonna make quick because the first one took a little long because I had to explain every step. This one is a workplace scenario. This is where the 5 actionable steps stemmed from for me, and what made me feel better about making mistakes and helped me lessen the emotional impact to it is because I actually learned this when I was working in an agency. So I'm going to give a personal real life experience in the workplace that I had with this and show you how I use the 5 actionable steps in the workplace. So I used to work in influencer marketing, right? Influencer marketing, the best way I can explain it is, do you know all those brand campaigns that all these influencers have where they have to promote a particular product or a particular event from a specific brand? I worked in an agency that doled those out. We handled those events, those campaigns for whatever brand we had locked in. We pull in creators to send them the products or send them to the event so that they can promote it on social media. And I had a particular project where I think it was like 5 influencers that had to film TikTok videos for this one particular product that we sent out to them. And there is a specific number of revisions per influencer. It's standard across the board that all influencers, along with their package rates for creating the content, is 2 revisions only. If they are made to do a 3rd revision or anything beyond those 2 revisions, they are entitled to charge more for it, right? Because it's in their contract that it's only 2. Well, I made a big boo-boo. And basically, what happened was we already went through the 2 revisions. For the 2nd revision, I sent over the wrong content deck that didn't have the correct client builds from the brand. So the 2nd revision came out all wrong. But this particular influencer obviously did not want to cater to a 3rd revision without any additional cost because the fault was mine. The fault was mine. And obviously because of this mistake and all the deadlines that I had to submit this particular content piece from the influencer to the client soon. I was panicking, right? I needed to get this done, but now there has to be a talk on finances, how we can get her to do the 3rd revision without any additional costs. Otherwise, it would be probably taken out from my paycheck. I simply didn't know what to do. But luckily, at this point, I had already learned the 5 steps that I had just taught you guys. So it didn't take me long to figure out what to do. And I did go through all of the actionable steps that I listed for you guys. So first off, before panicking, before immediately going to client or to my superior and being like, oh, this happened. Oh, she doesn't want to revise. It's all my mistake. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Before any of that, I took a step back first and I went through the emails that I sent the influencer because although I already knew it was my mistake, I needed to see where the mistake was so that I could properly understand what had happened, right? And it did turn out that I sent over the wrong deck. I thought it was the right one, but it turns out it was the wrong one. And I didn't check it before I sent it, which I absolutely should have done. That was where the oversight was and what caused the mistake. Because had I checked the deck before I attached it to the email, I would have seen that it was the wrong deck. I was working so fast trying to get it out in time that I decided to overlook it and trusted that it was the right one, only to be proven wrong. So now I've taken a step back and absorbed the situation from a place of calm because I gave myself enough time to calm down from my panic before I went in to figure out where I had gone wrong. That also ties into understanding the situation, right? Now I know exactly what I should have done and what I did wrong that caused this whole debacle in the first place. So then I move on to step 3. I pinpoint the insight, next steps, and workaround. The insight was double check my decks. Every single time, I had to learn that I can't just trust that something is right when I think for sure it is. Because knowing me, I make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes I really just can't trust myself, so I have to micromanage myself. So insight is I have to make sure that I check everything I send out before I send it out. And then I figure out the solution and the workaround. My solution was obviously to ask if she could revise the material and explain to her what had happened. And also, obviously, apologize profusely to the influencer because now she is being hassled by my mistake. But that solution did not work out because though I apologized profusely and I tried to ask her to just pretty please favor just this once, please, I'm so sorry, this is my fault. Obviously, that didn't work, right? And she didn't want to do the extra revision without charging us the extra cost. So, what was my workaround? My workaround was to escalate it to my superior, tell my head about what had happened, apologize profusely once again, and ask them for help. To which the head of the company, the head himself, God bless his heart. Thank you so much for saving me. He's a great guy, but he called the influencer personally, and she had been working with this company for a while, so there was a bit of history there. And one call from the head of the company had her agreeing to revising the material without any additional costs. And I can only imagine that the head was probably like, listen, she's new. Because I was a new hiree at that point. I was less than 4 months in. He probably was like, listen, she's new, she's learning, she's still adjusting. We're so sorry for this. She's learned her lesson. If you could just do this for us. And she said yes. And obviously, I thanked our head profusely because he saved my ass. But that was my workaround. It wasn't to solve it by myself, but to ask for help. And lo and behold, at the end of it, the campaign was a huge success. Once the whole situation had happened and I had apologized profusely to all the people involved, I didn't beat myself up for it. I took it as a learning opportunity. So instead of telling myself like, Maxine, you're such a fuck up, which I used to do all the time. I used to be like, you're such a fuck up, you never get anything right, like you're always like this, you can never do anything, blah, 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 blah. I actively had to stop myself from thinking that way. And I had to tell myself, listen, you know what you did wrong. You learned from it. Now you have to understand that you can take this learning and be better for it moving forward. You can slow down with your work, double check everything before you send it out, and it won't happen again. So I just did my best to cancel out all the negative self-talk with positive self-talk instead and move forward from it, because I didn't want to hinder the progress that my superior had made for me because I devalued myself from this one mistake that I made. Number 5, let it go. There was one project where I made another mistake from the same company, and I apologized profusely to my superior, but like I couldn't let go of what the mistake I made was. So I think a couple hours into the workday, I messaged them again and I was like, hey, by the way, I just wanted to say sorry again. That is a prime example of not letting it go. I've already apologized profusely, but I decided to chat randomly later in the day and be like, I'm really, really sorry once again. Please forgive me. And they literally said, it's okay. Please stop apologizing. I know you learned from this particularly challenging campaign. We can move forward and do better because now we've learned our lesson. That's exactly what I'm saying when I say you gotta let it go. I was hindering my superior from doing their work because I decided to randomly chat them in the middle of the day to apologize, and they had to like temper my emotions for me when they could have spent that time working on whatever project they had on hand at that moment, right? And I couldn't fully focus on the other projects that I was handling because I was too dead set on the mistake that I had made. Do not let that happen in the workplace. When you make a mistake, you follow the steps that I've given you, and then you let it go, and then you take it with you moving forward so that you can do better in the other projects that you will have in the future. I don't know why it was hard to finish that sentence, but you get what I mean. So if you take these 5 actionable steps to whatever situation you find yourself in, whatever mistake you make or failure you encounter in the future, with enough practice, I'm not saying you're gonna get it right the first time you're able to put these 5 actionable steps into work, but if you're able to gain a sense of awareness, that you're able to actually enact it in the situation, and you're able to do it every time you encounter a mistake or a failure or whatever challenging situation may come your way in the future, because again, they will come, the emotional impact will lessen because now hopefully you feel more empowered to be able to tackle whatever it is you're going to be experiencing in the future, because now you have 5 actionable steps. And I feel like I need to say this, but when I say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, I don't mean when it's happening, you have to think of the answers right away, right? I don't mean you have to, in the middle of an argument, step back, take 5 to 10 deep breaths, stand in a corner while the person you're arguing with is just waiting for you to finish, thinking about what you need to do, what your insights are, what's your next step, what's your workaround. Now do some positive self-talk in the corner while the person waits for you. I'm not telling you to do it like that. This can be in the process of maybe during the duration of the situation if you're quick with it. If these 5 steps and the answers to all the prompts I've given you is easy to come to you, but it can also take days. It can take weeks. It can take months for you to process something and for you to come to a conclusion on what the situation is. And for you to come to a conclusion on what you need to do with the challenge and the situation that you've encountered. So please know that you shouldn't rush yourself to go through all 5 actionable steps really, really quickly or even while the situation is happening. Please take your time. You really have to give yourself the space and the honor of being able to fully and thoroughly understand, absorb, process, figure out what the right thing to do is, what your workarounds can be, and how you can think of yourself positively and be encouraging towards yourself after the fact. You don't have to figure it out right away, and I highly suggest that you don't force yourself to figure it out right away. And hopefully, once you've practiced it enough, you'll be so used to it that you don't need so much time to fully process a situation anymore, which I'm very much happy to say is where I am right now. I don't have a hard time thinking things through when I find myself in the depths of a failure or a mistake. I'm now much quicker to pinpoint where I've gone wrong and what I need to do. But that's also not all of the time. But I am much quicker with it now. Before I go, just one more thing. Please remember, and as cliche as this sounds, that failure is what makes us better people. And I promise you that if you are able to put in the hard work to exercise the level of awareness that I've shared with you guys through the 5 actionable steps I've given you in this video, you will get used to failure and it will lessen the emotional impact and make it feel like it's not such a big deal anymore because you'll be more empowered to tackle it head on. Not only that, but you'll also be able to work with failure every single time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was insightful for you guys and I hope you guys had a good time. I also really, really hope that this entire video was clear and my whole thought process on why we need to get used to failure and the actionable steps were clear to you guys, because I know I rambled quite a bit and I know I said a lot, but I hope it's clear. Like, I hope the message and the insight is clear in this video. So yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned for the next one, by the way, the next one where I teach you guys how to apologize properly. Okay, goodbye. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.